Tri-City Sports Now, I'm Marky Bilson, your voice of choice, new generation of Tri-City sports fans here on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities. The program can be heard from noon to 2, and we pride ourselves in having the best guests in the market, and I think that this we're living up to that. We have one of the great gentlemen of baseball from Red Jacket, West Virginia originally, now living in San Angelo, Texas. It's Doc Edwards. Doc was the manager of the Cleveland Indians in the late 80s when the Braves' new third base coach, Ron Washington, was one of his players. Now, Ron has been something of a controversial figure since going into managing and now coaching. He's 64 years old. He led the Texas Rangers to a couple of pennants, but a lot of people thought his strategy wasn't quite what it could be. And he also was caught using illegal drugs during his tenure with the Rangers. He has been a coach for the Oakland A's for the last couple of years, but in 1988 he played for Doc Edwards. And the Cleveland Indians, who were perennial cellar dwellers, actually spent much of that year in the pennant race, starting strong before eventually giving way to trying to think the Red Sox in 88. So we're here now with Doc Edwards. Thanks for joining us here now. I know, Doc, I got to know you when you were managing in the independent minors, but I'll come right out and say it. Ron Washington played for you. What kind of a player was Ron Washington when he was playing for you with the Cleveland Indians?
He was the type of player that you could put just anywhere. He played third. He could play short. He could play second, first. He could run the ball down. And when we got him from to do that, he did it really great for about 2 or 3 years. And then he got off. He left then to go start tomorrow. Lay down to become a major league manager, and he did a great job. He really did.
He's the only manager to take the Rangers to the World Series. We do know that. Now, I want to ask you, I mean, he's a typical, infielder, utility type guy, like you said. But did you think he would have a future in coaching and managing when he played for you?
Well, the thing about it, he could hit the ball out of the ballpark, too. But when we got him, he was older, which means, he's going to go to the bench because you always play your prospects and young players. But and he come to the park ready to go play. He's always on time. He was a good ball player, but at the time had got in. He's down to probably the 29 or 30 or something, and did a great job. But a younger guy could take a everyday job from him.
Well, did you ever have conversations with Ron Washington on, say, baseball strategy or about a future in coaching in the major leagues?
Yes, and more so in the minor leagues because I've been a manager and he being a player. We get to the ballpark early and talk a lot. He had a great, he has had a great autonomy about him where he comes to the ballpark and he's coming to play, and whatever he needs to do, he's going to be ready to do, to play for him for the ball player.
We're talking about Ron Washington, who is the new third base coach, just named this morning of the Atlanta Braves. And, of course, once baseball season begins, you can listen to their games right here on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities, the Tri-Cities home of the Atlanta Braves. But he was a controversial hire because there was a circumstance during his managerial career with the Rangers where he was caught using illegal drugs. I have to ask you, did you see any indication of that when he played with you? Any indications of substance abuse?
No, but if you remember, and I know you do because you and I talk a lot, and you don't forget anything. that was a time of the year, time where it seems like everybody in baseball and football and everything else was on dope and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of guys that I knew that was on them, and I would never think that they would be on drugs. And it's just something it's something that probably a third of maybe even more of baseball or sports had to go through it.
We are talking with Doc Edwards, who is a former manager of the Cleveland Indians, whom Ron Washington, the new third base coach for the Braves, played for. And Doc is also something of a local product from southern West Virginia, Hatfield and McCoy's territory there in Red Jacket, right. West Virginia there. But I have to ask you, when you were managing the Indians or a coach with the New York Mets, did you see any evidence? How did you handle a player who you might discover had a substance abuse problem?
Well, I would have had no problem to go and say, you don't really want to do that, do you? It'll take a lot away from your play, and you just won't be able to compete eventually with the rest of the baseball. And I said, you ought to get if you don't want to go to somebody in baseball, go get a priest, get somebody, and try to walk your way out of it. I don't know if anybody ever walked their way out of it, but yes, I talked a lot to the players that would do that, and I sort of had an up on it because when I was in the Navy, I was with the Marine, I was a medic. And that let me talk a lot to such a lot of ball players. Just the fact that they were medics, and they didn't bother. I mean, it didn't really bother to go ask somebody. They would talk to me.
Well, that is how Doc Edwards got his nickname, being a medic in the Navy way back in the 50s, actually. He was the one player that Ralph Kiner ever signed back when he was a general manager at San Diego, as a matter of fact. The San Diego Padres, when they were a minor league team. He signed Doc Edwards and is really a wealth of baseball knowledge here. I tell you what, can I hold you on for a little bit? There's a couple of questions that I do want to ask you about managerial strategy that's going on in the playoffs now, as well as, your old friend Charlie Manuel, also a quasi-local product who became the greatest manager in the history of the Phillies. He hired him, Doc Edwards, Tri-City Sports Now, and we'll be back after this.
Broadcasting from the Liberty Lumber Studios, 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities and NBCSportsTriCities.com. Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
Getting ready for Game 4s with two NLDS games on this Tuesday. Both are in California. First up in L.A., the Nationals will try to knock out the Dodgers for their first postseason series win since moving to Washington. And we just found out a few minutes ago that Clayton Kershaw is going to start for the Dodgers on 3 days rest, while the Nats will counter with right-hander and their number 4 starter, Joe Ross. First pitch will be just after 5 p.m. Eastern. Then after that, up the coast, the Cubs will try and close out the Giants, even though the Giants have won 10 in a row when facing elimination. John Lackey will take them out against Matt Moore. Off the field, no more interim tag in Atlanta for Brian Snitker, who today was named the permanent manager of the Braves. NFL news, bad news for the Eagles. Right tackle Lane Johnson lost his appeal and will now serve his 10-game PED suspension. NBC Sports Radio.
This isn't the sound of an engine. It's the sound of a moment, an experience, of your heart beating stronger than ever. It's the sound of discovering more. This is the sound of the 2017 Harley-Davidson touring bikes taking you on an unforgettable journey, powered by the all-new Milwaukee 8 engine. and equipped with a new suspension that gives you more confidence, comfort, and control, so you feel the difference. Discover more at h-d.com and live your legend. Compared with original equipment 2016 touring models.
Time was running out as the team came to the line.
Bradshaw, enough about your glory days.
Boss, I was telling them how Ferguson helps pro contractors stay competitive, even against the big boys. Whether it's helping them get those hard-to-find plumbing repair parts, offering the latest in power tools, or staying wide open all day long, there's plenty in Ferguson's playbook to give small contractors the edge. Plus, with so many counter locations coast to coast, Ferguson always gives them the home team advantage.
Nice, rookie. Find out how Ferguson delivers for trade contractors at Ferguson.com.
Bradshaw!
Bradshaw!
Check out the great deals waiting for you at your local KFC in Irwin.
Hey folks, this is David Long out here at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Come out here and try one of our $5 fill-ups. You can get a one-piece breast, a potato and gravy, a biscuit, a cookie, and a medium drink for $5 and some change. Or if it's a family meal you're looking for, try one of our $20 fill-ups. You get 8 pieces of chicken, 2 large potatoes, a gravy, a slaw, and 4 biscuits for $20 plus tax.
Enjoy these and other great deals at your local KFC at 1213 North Main, Irwin.
When you're hungry, your best stop is Quick Stop Market and Deli, 1107 Jackson Love Highway in Irwin. On Mondays, enjoy the special of meatloaf or stuffed peppers. Wednesday, it's lasagna, and the special on Friday is fish and shrimp. Quick Stop Deli also features roast beef and gravy platters, pork barbecue, and a whole lot more. Check out their entire menu when you stop in at Quick Stop Market and Deli. They also have breakfast combos, too. On your way to work, on your way home, or for lunch, Quick Stop Market and Deli, 1107 Jackson Love Highway in Irwin.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Why? Because you can save 45% on packages compared to your high-priced cable bill. Wow. Take those giant scissors out and cut the cable and save with Dish TV. Plus, you get a free DVR upgrade to record your favorite shows and free installation. And with Dish Anywhere, you can watch TV for free on your mobile device. Act fast. You can save hundreds of dollars. Does your cable company do that for you? I don't think so. Get all the best TV programming at your fingertips at a fraction of the price of cable TV. So say adios, arrivederci, goodbye to the high cable bill and save up to 45% on Dish TV packages today. These are limited time offers and can change at any time. Call fast. 800-586-4206. 800-586-4206. 800-586-4206. 800-586-4206.
NBC News Radio, I'm Joe McConnell. Donald Trump is attacking his fellow Republicans in a tweet spree this morning. The first says our very weak and ineffective leader, Paul Ryan, had a bad conference call where his members went wild at his disloyalty. Trump referring to Ryan's decision not to defend him or campaign with him anymore in the wake of Trump's vulgar comments in a 2005 recording. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, a member of Trump's transition team, is also calling the tape indefensible. Christie broke his silence this morning, appearing on WFAN, saying Trump's apology wasn't enough. During Sunday night's debate, Trump commented that 45% of inner cities are impoverished. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser took that as a thinly veiled reference to her city.
We have businesses growing, including his own in Washington, D.C. So on the one hand, he comes to D.C. to profit, but then kind of badmouths our city.
About 50% of D.C. is black, one of the largest percentages of any major American city. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Morning hours are cool, afternoon quite pleasant, and there's no signs of rain at this point through Friday. Sunny and 76 today, cooling down to 42 tonight, mid-70s tomorrow, low 70s on Thursday, mid-70s on Friday. For 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities, I'm Terry Smith at the Weather Channel.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. If you call right now and you're a new Dish subscriber, packages start at $19.99 a month for 12 months. That's right, $19.99 a month. Compare that to your cable bill, and the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD channels, free DVR to record your favorite shows, and free installation. You even get our free Dish Anywhere, so you can take your TV on the go, watching your favorite programs on your smartphone, tablet, or laptop anywhere in the world. I'll say it again, all for just $19.99 a month for 12 months. This is a limited time 24-month offer you must qualify for, and it could change at any time. So call now. 800-293-0328. 800-293-0328. 800-293-0328. That's 800-293-0328.
Tri-City Sports Now on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities. Hey, the big news in baseball right now, it's just been announced Clayton Kershaw is going to go on 3 days rest. He will start for the Dodgers today, 5 p.m. first pitch here on the East Coast, L.A. time. It's 2 o'clock against Joe Ross. Dodgers are in a do-or-die situation. They're down in the best-of-5 series to go to the National League Championship Series. They're down 2-1 following an 8-3 loss to the Washington Nationals yesterday. By the way, depending on how the game goes tonight, as well as circumstances of the show, there's a very good chance I'll be having on a coach with the Washington Nationals on tomorrow's program to talk about the baseball playoffs, an inside look, and so on and so forth. We're working that out. A lot depends on whether or not the Nationals win tonight or not, but we may have a coach from the Nationals on to talk contemporary playoffs. One guy talking a little bit about contemporary baseball, who is one of the great men of baseball, is Doc Edwards, and he's on our line from San Angelo. He's the former manager of the Cleveland Indians, who has good things to say about Ron Washington, just named the third base coach of the Braves under their returning manager, Brian Snitker. Well, I wanted to ask you, kind of a late announcement for Clayton Kershaw to get the start on the bump just 5 hours before the game time. Now, what can that do for a pitcher's psyche? Don't they need a little bit more time to prepare and go over the hitters and that? You're a former major league manager. Would you have waited so long?
I'm a pitcher, too.
Yes, yes. Would you have waited so long to have named a starting pitcher for this game?
No, because if he won, they would give him his 5 days. But since they lost, you got to put your best on the mound. And if you remember, years ago, there was only a four game rotation. There was no 5 game nothing. It was up until when I come into the game in the 50s that they went to the five pitchers, because it was 4 pitchers. I remember rain and Spain and all that stuff.
Spawn and Saint pray for rain, yes.
Yeah, and I call a lot of 4 game pitchers, and you know the old guys. You go out in the 7th inning to take him out of the game, you might have a fight on your hands.
That's what happened in the World Series last year with Terry Collins. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that. I actually think that's why the Giants are still alive and the Mets aren't. I think that the fact that Bruce Bochy kept Madison Bumgarner in the game, and in fact Noah Syndergaard was taken out of the game in the wild card by Terry Collins, that's the deciding move that basically is why the Giants are still alive after their victory last night, early this morning over here.
In yesteryears,
yeah,
I would have probably went with a 4 game guy too, or later the pitcher like that last year. Not try to finish it. You just let him try to finish it. He wants it that bad. But in this time, he would have never talked me into letting him finish a ball game. Because when you get a closer, you got him. That's what you got him for.
Mm-hmm.
To get that last out or that 3 outs in the 9th inning. And general manager can always, I guess, what I got him for. And that's his job. So when they come down to the 9th inning, that's his job to go in and do it. And hopefully the guy can hold it. There was one thing I had in with the Mets. Well, Doc Gooden was pitching one day, and they'd had that left-hander. You know, remember, he's from there. Great closer.
Orozco.
Huh?
Was it Jesse Orozco?
Yes. The lefty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was Roscoe. It was another guy. They got him from Cincinnati.
Okay. Oh, John Franco. John Franco. I'm sorry. John Franco.
Yes, sir, Franco. And we're standing there, and Buddy had just taken over, and he looked at me, and Mel Sotomayor, who was the old school, he didn't want to come out of the game. He looked at Mel, and Mel says, asked Mel, Doc pitched in a ninth inning, and I didn't say anything, and then they turned around to somebody, who else it was, and asked, would he take the Doc out, and what would I do? I said, the general manager got him to do that job. If he comes, lets Doc finish and he loses, they'll tell him that it wasn't his, that was his job.
Yeah.
But if you bring Franco in and he loses, that's his job. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There shouldn't be any thinking about it. Bob Fella and those type of pitchers are no more.
Yeah, and it's a sad state of affairs, I think, because I think we all like that bulldog pitcher and such. And as I had mentioned this on the show, that when the Mets took out Syndergaard, and it was Gillespie that actually came up with a winning 3-run home run off the Mets closer. Well, believe it or not, Syndergaard had faced Gillespie 4 times in his career and had struck him out all 4 times. And, so it was, to me, when I looked at it, who hit the home run in that wild card game, and the fact that 108 pitches, you could have a guy come for the 8th inning, especially when there was a pinch hitter doing up for the 8th inning. I thought you could at least get one more inning out of Syndergaard, and potentially, if the 8th place hitter in the bottom of the 8th got on, still have Syndergaard bunt the guy over and come back for a classic 0-0 tie, or it might have been a 1-0 lead at that point, and then you would have had the statistical matchup in that case. Although I do understand, they've paid a lot of money for the closer, and that's what you've come out, you've come out to get. What do you think of how Buck Showalter handled his staff in the game against the Blue Jays, Doc, when he did not use his closer, Zach Grinton, because the book says he would have needed 6 outs, and you can't have a closer do that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, if you got a guy that can pitch the 7th inning, maybe the 8th inning, and make sure that closer throws the 9th inning, he should be able to throw the 9th inning 10 days in a row. It's something that you and I sort of laugh about the old days. Bob Fella, they asked him, Bob, how many pitches do they let you throw in these guys they only can throw 90 pitches. He said, I'd be out there on the mound and I'd look up and I'd be throwing 125 and 130, 150. I just didn't think about it and didn't worry about counting how many I threw until I got back into the locker room.
We're talking with Doc Edwards, who is a veteran man of baseball, although currently looking for a position. He most recently was managing in the independent ranks. That's why he's joining us from San Angelo, where he used to manage a team called the San Angelo Colts in the old United League. But before he went into the independent route, he was the manager of the Cleveland Indians, and he gave another local product from Buena Vista, Virginia, or perhaps we should say Wythe County. He also hailed from there. Charlie Manuel, a job as the Indians hitting coach when Doc Edwards was the manager of the Cleveland Indians. Now, Charlie Manuel was only a 198 lifetime hitter in the major leagues. What impressed you so much about Manuel that you would hire him to become the hitting coach of the Indians, and he would eventually become a very successful major league manager?
Well, he was from up in the Midwest for play with all the old players, and he was a great pitching. He was a hot. Let me say it this way: a hero in Japan.
Yes.
He was a hero in Japan, so it was nothing about no problem. And he's a great hitting coach. And the thing when into that season when they let me go and let Charlie go, he come in my office and he says, I really learned a lot from you, because I always worried about just knowing what hitting is. But I watched you, the way you run your game and everything, and I appreciate it, because now if I get a chance to manage or something at the big leagues, I think I'm ready.
Well, that's quite a compliment paid to you, Doc Edwards. And, of course, Manuel would later go on to lead the Cleveland Indians to a division title in 2001, and then he would become the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies and not only lead them to a world title in 2008, but become the Phillies' all-time leader in managerial victories. So he's probably the greatest manager the Philadelphia Phillies ever had. Hey, Doc Edwards, last question for you. You're the former manager of the Cleveland Indians for a short period of time. You came on during a era of the Indians where they lost a lot more than they won, but for one season you did have them in contention in 1988, especially at the start of the year. Got to ask you, are you rooting for the Indians here in the playoffs against Toronto and to go far?
Well, yeah, I will pull for Cleveland. It was hard when Boston was there, because both of those guys played for me for 3 or 4 days, and I just whoever's hitting, I would pull for. But now I can pull for Cleveland, but one of my coaches, or one of my players, the third baseman, he's their hitting coach. So I don't know what I want to do. I think when they come up to hit, I think I'll go out back and open up a Pepsi.
Who is that hitting coach?
With Jacoby.
Okay. Yeah, Brooke Jacoby. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and the Braves fans will all know Brooke Jacoby as well, who was traded for Len Barker back in the day. But anyway, I am talking, or have been talking, to Doc Edwards a little bit about what kind of a third base coach he thinks Ron Washington will be now that Washington.
He's got it. He knows what he's doing. He's smart. He knows the game, and I wish him nothing but the greatest, because everybody in this world who needs a break and to get another chance. He's a good man, and I don't think he'll ever slip again, and he'll do a great job. And when John took him from Dallas now to work at third base for him over there, you don't take somebody with you if you think he's going to screw up again.
It's Doc Edwards, the former manager of the Indians. He's given the new third base coach of the Braves, Ron Washington, his seal of approval. You'll listen to the Braves next year here on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities. Doc Edwards, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, my friend.